Originally dubbed Secret Legend back in 2015 before being rebranded at Microsoft's E3 showcase in 2018, Tunic captured the hearts of many by showing a lovingly crafted, isometrically styled world with pot breaking, puzzle solving, hidden secrets, and boss battles. The adorable fox character stirred up a nostalgic Legend of Zelda vibe before retreating into the shadows of the internet. It left fans guessing as to if or when it would be released, and only time would tell. I'm here to say that that time is now, so let's jump in and see what all the fox is about. My name is Koshi, and this is Tunic. Before we get into it, if you'd like to see more reviews like this, please remember to subscribe and we can grow the channel together. I'm reviewing the PC version of this game and I got a code from the publisher ahead of release, so thanks very much. Starting out as a one-man endeavor, Tunic's development team has since grown, and the team was also picked up by the publisher Finji, who is also known for indie titles like Chicory: A Colorful Tale and Night in the Woods. The initial developer Andrew Shoulders has stated that the game was originally inspired by a certain classic triangle-seeking game, and it really showed throughout my playthrough. Sprinkle in a little bit of puzzle solving, a touch of Hollow Knight level difficulty, and a subtle but interesting story akin to something like the Souls series, and you've got a melting pot of excitement waiting to be enjoyed. The beginning of Tunic starts rather abruptly by dumping your fluffy tail onto a beach and saying, "Enjoy." With only your curiosity and your wits at your disposal, the game leaves you to explore the world and encounter its inhabitants with its adorable design laid right out in front of you. And exploring that world, in a word, is wonderful. From simple pieces like trees and grass falling over at the swing of your sword, to some of the mind-blowing set pieces on display, it has this low-poly aesthetic that put a smile on my face from the word go. I loved exploring this world, and doing it so from an isometric viewpoint was definitely a strong fit for the art style. As you explore, you are slowly introduced to the various game mechanics, and you quickly find out where the game is subtly directing you. This always seemed to be done at just the right time, which is something that kept popping up. It shows the developer has spent a lot of time refining the player's journey, as they give you just enough information to progress, but sometimes that information is coded or behind a puzzle, or maybe just hidden in plain sight. When you think your measly stick isn't enough to face up against a new enemy, there's a sword waiting right around the corner. Just when you think this new challenge of dealing with another foe that uses projectiles, there's a shield to protect you. Eventually I started to get tired of the initial walking speed, and the game provided a manual page that shows you how to roll and sprint. These sound like typical tutorial style moments, but this pops up later on when you're told to execute a move to progress that you could have easily done beforehand, but you never needed until you were given the information. It left me asking, wait, did I do that the whole time and I didn't know? And this happened on multiple occasions, which left me wanting to re-explore parts of the world in case I missed something, or there was a move there, or maybe I missed a manual page entirely. These manual pages come together in an adventurer's guide style magazine, which slowly collect pages over time to the point where it becomes a major reference point in the game. Everything from area maps to new mechanics, tips and tricks, subtle story information, and even a table of contents, just for you. This great package is all wrapped up with some adorable fox-themed graphics and various scribbles, possibly from a previous adventurer, and it left me smiling as I gained each new page. It's short and sweet, giving you the info that you need without getting bogged down with essays of information about what the shieldy skeleton's favourite flavour of pudding is, or what have you. It does this in a very interesting way, with the language being a mix of incomprehensible symbols and English where it counts. It doesn't say more than it needs to progress the story, and it keeps you playing as much as possible once you understand the concepts being shown. Where this falls down somewhat is towards the end of the game, when you're possibly wrapping up loose ends and making your way to the final encounters. Without spoiling anything, there is a story-related reason why you want to explore parts of the world, and there's so many pages to this guide that it can be a bit overwhelming. Unfortunately, with no way of sorting, removing marks, and making marks on pages, you start flipping back and forth trying to connect the dots. As a small note as well, the way the camera moves as you're flipping from page to page started to give me a headache. Much like when you're trying to figure out the next part of the game's story without having a wiki available. I know. Or muffin. This is because the overarching story of Tunic is very subtle, and it accomplishes this by having absolutely no spoken dialogue within the game while keeping concepts very vague. Sure, there are signs to points of interest and notes around the place to add to your adventurer's guide, but the events taking place are shown, not said, and you're left to interpret them how you will. Via an early game scene, you can travel to another plane of existence and silently communicate with an elder being who is currently trapped inside a 3-color jail. Shrines to this elder are spread across the various landscapes, and as the story of the game develops, you start to piece together what might have happened throughout the world and why they might be there. These shrines also act as the game's checkpoints, and interacting with them can restore your health and potions, but they'll also respawn all of the enemies that you just carved through. Death is inevitable in this game for people like me, and the Elder's Blessing will restore you back to the last shrine that you rested at with your tail between your legs. For my first death about 45 minutes in, the game showed me an area with littering of skulls along the ground. I, of course, didn't pay attention to them, and the enemy that appeared promptly sent me to the Shadow Realm. It's subtle hints like this that it really shows the amount of thought put into each area of the game, and that's a real great aspect that I've enjoyed. Later on, when you have access to more tools and information, you're able to retread previously explored areas and discover things that you definitely missed on the first time around. With your newly acquired knowledge and your trusty adventurer's guide, there were many aha moments during the game. Without a wiki or a walkthrough at the ready, there were times where I had to sit down and have a think as to what to do next. This can be great if you enjoy the challenge, but incredibly frustrating when it's 2 AM and you've run around that area for the third time trying to piece together what the next part of the game will be. Because of its open-ended nature, you can explore most of the world that is available to you and tackle various challenges in what felt to me in any order. There's no direction in the game save for maybe find the 3 colored MacGuffins and see what happens. This allowed me to explore the game my own way, and I really enjoyed doing that. The best part is that you're rewarded by exploring the world around you. Keeping both eyes open leads to many discoveries that will keep you looking around the next corner for what might come next. To add to this, there are hidden pathways to get into some areas that are just hiding in plain sight. One time during my playthrough, I was racking my brain on how to progress to the next area. After figuring it out and progressing, there was a side passage that didn't require a bridge to be pushed down or anything. It showed that it was possibly open the entire time, but due to some clever level design, I wasn't able to spot it. Very sneaky, Tunic. Thanks for making me look like a fool. One of the strongest points of the game is the world appears to be interconnected, and everything seems to make sense as you explore, or when you view them in the guidebook. If you see a chest that you can't get to in an area, you can figure it out in a way that makes sense to the world, or it will make sense later when you get the right tool for the job. The same can be said about things like dropping ladders or ropes back to previous sections of the map, or flipping over bridges, which allows you to quickly get back to your last shrine. To complement this, the music of Tunic kept me engaged, and it really helps boost the emotions while you're exploring each area. The sound design also matches the actions you're doing quite well, and it gives you a feeling that it all fits together. Even the swell of the menu music already had me excited to play this game, and it's a feature that's spread across the game. Just give it a listen. While you're exploring a new area, there are slow melodies to keep you on your journey. During the multiple boss fights in the game, there are high-paced and exciting tunes to get you engaged and keep the hype going. The music cuts out where it needs to, and sometimes its absence lets you know how alone you really are in the world. It's amazing there's not a single piece of dialogue in this game, and most of the text is written in a language nobody can comprehend, and yet it still manages to make you understand the concepts being shown off. Tunic is a game that presents itself so simply, and yet it has this subtlety that grows on you over time as you continue to explore its beautifully crafted world. So we're 10 minutes into the video and I haven't even talked about how it plays. I played it on an Xbox One controller, and I invite you to do the same. The ability to quickly access your inventory menu and items works really well, and the default controls are simple and solid. There are also options for the keyboard, but it appears to be a two-handed keyboard setup, so take that as you will. Your main attack is a 3-hit combo that ends in a lunging stab with the sword that is depicted in the main key art for the video. Your trusty shield blocks damage at the cost of stamina, and eventually you'll have access to magic items which will assist you in your adventures. Outside of these items, you are limited by 3 inventory slots, so you have to mix and match what you're using at any one time. This can be strenuous when you're trying to fight a new boss and you forgot that you equipped the wrong items at the start, and you may be sent back to that Shadow Realm. There are no gear options or build availability since most of the game will have your trusty sword and shield. As you explore, you will find various trinkets that will provide a variety of bonuses, and you're able to mix them, match them where necessary. You can also specialize into various stats with limited items that are scattered around the world. The game even recommends that you be at a certain power level before attempting the first boss, which is nice, especially for a first boss fight. The boss battles are arguably the best part of Tunic, and each one represents the end of a particular thread that you're pulling on. Think of the main area as the hub or overworld, and then each direction allows you to explore, and it usually ends in a big bad named boss. Each one is a varied experience that tests the skills that you've built over time. To help you survive these encounters, you have potions at your disposal and a dodge mechanic which allows a Dark Souls-esque experience where perfectly timing your dodge allows you to ignore damage and capitalize on enemy openings. While I was corpse running a couple of these, the feeling of elation once a boss battle is completed is extremely rewarding. I feel the only letdown here is that the camera and lock-on mechanic at times can be frustrating. For me, it wasn't the most consistent experience, and I had moments where I was locking onto an enemy or a travel hook far off in the distance when I was being sliced into at close range. When focusing on an enemy, the game really focuses on them. It was almost like a widescreen movie scene where the camera zooms and tilts slightly while adding black bars to the top and bottom of your screen. This can be super engaging in a one-on-one boss fight, but it sometimes got me killed as I was balancing multiple enemies and also trying to face my closest foe to strike them. While I don't feel the game is necessarily replayable as it does follow one consistent storyline, I feel the pull all ready to go back and complete all the secrets, restart the game and see if I can enter those hidden in plain sight areas before having access to the way back. In my time with the game, it took me roughly 13 hours to get to what I can assume to be the final boss. Unfortunately, this game can be difficult at times, and after hitting my head against a wall for 2 or 3 hours before exploring the world looking for an answer, I came up short. While I don't think the boss is necessarily overtuned, I will say it's a difficulty spike that I wasn't expecting. The game does have the ability to have assistant on or off toggles, so I can finish the game in the time that it was allotted. As someone who does have limited time, I think it's a nice reprieve to have these options available to lessen the difficulty where required. It also gives me another reason to come back and complete it as a more pure run when I get good, and also to find out what happens after I collect all the secrets. I wholeheartedly recommend picking up Tunic if you have the time to play it. I fell in love with the adorable world that was laid out in front of me and awestruck at the scale of some of its designs. The puzzles presented kept me engaged throughout, and the game provides a significant challenge which rewards players for sitting and thinking about what to do next. This is supported by many aha moments, things hidden in plain sight, and secrets that I'm still scratching my head over. To think that this started out as a project of one person and continued like that for a long time is amazing, and I can't wait to see what they do next. If at all possible, I recommend playing the game without a wiki or looking up anything prior. Maybe except for this review. Being able to scratch your brain and figure out puzzles with the knowledge the game gives you is really enjoyable. Dedicate the time and the thought to this game and it will reward you with a fantastic experience. And that's everything I have to say on Tunic. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. Please remember to leave a like on the video. If you want to see more, keep subscribed to see more views in the future, and I will see you guys next time. Fushi, out.